Welcome to the Victorious POD podcast with your hosts, Jack Vickers and Tyler Herman.
What up, Pod Squad? Welcome back in for another edition of the Victorious POD. We appreciate you guys sticking with us in this grueling season. We're going to be doing a little bit of a Week 18 preview, even though hopefully most of your leagues are done by this point, so we won't get too far into it, but we're also going to do some championship recap, round out the end of a lot of our games from this show, and we're going to do a little bit fun, probably likely throwback, but video game-based draft shortly. But first, I will bring in my co-host, Tyler.
What up, Jackaroo? Been too long. I mean, took a week off and holidays and whatnot, and things happen, and families visit, so sometimes those weeks just get away from you. And so it's good to be back. Hopefully everybody won their championships. Unless you played against me, then I'm glad you lost.
Fair enough. I wouldn't want you to lie, so that's good. Yeah, I have some happiness and some disappointment. But
I agreed.
That's fantasy. So real quick, just this isn't the would you rather question or anything, but I dug out some beers, and because Tyler's the betting expert, I mainly just am drinking on this podcast tonight because it's the end of the season, essentially celebration. So, yay, look at you.
Maybe the second time ever.
Koozie, good luck reading it in reverse, but it's not a dad bod, it's a father figure. So.
It's not in reverse. I can see it just fine.
Oh, it's in reverse for me. Good. I want to read that.
Yeah, I was going to say it should be mirrored for you, but no, it's good.
So, as the betting expert, I'm glad we're both celebrating, but as the betting expert, I want you to know, if I set, because usually when I make a drink on the pod, I drink like one throughout the course of the thing because I never shut up and stop talking.
Yeah.
If I set the over-under at 2.5 throughout the course of our pod tonight, I felt like that was fair. 1.5 seemed too easy, 3.5 seemed way too ambitious, and I'll not finish the show. So if I set it at 2.5, you won't insult me, but what's your betting tell you?
I'll take the under just because we talk so much back and forth. Yeah, you're just gonna rip one. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'll take the under just because we talk so much and we really just keep going. Like people who think like, oh, maybe they cut it together or they stop and do stuff. No, we literally just talk for an hour and a half straight and then we move on with our lives.
It's when I start to run out of breath is when I remember I should throw it to Tyler. We'll put it that way. So
yeah, exactly. We're both very good at just bouncing back and forth off of each other, and we know enough about what we're talking about and prep enough that we can just kind of vamp off of. We don't need to go note by note, so it's definitely just constant talking for an hour and a half.
Yes, my notes have gotten more and more lazy. Than shout out to Walters.
Yeah,
I used to do it with him. It was very and that was more just me learning. That's nothing against Walters, but I had it very sentences and paragraphs ready, and now it's talk about Vikings game. Click.
Yeah, right.
It's more just my own time commitment. But anyways, that's probably fair. That's probably we'll get through 3/4 of the show and realize I'm still on beer one, and then start trying to catch up. So for the random game of the week, I'm just doing a would you rather because I've been giving you options. Right. I'm just going to go back to a would you rather. So
I like it.
This one I might need to tinker with the timelines a bit. But would you rather get stung by a bee once a day?
Oh.
We're going to assume you're not allergic. You're not going to die from it.
Yeah.
It's just ouchie, and then the presumption is also that the swelling, whatever you want to say, goes down before the next day, so you're not getting just stung everywhere. It's random. You don't know what time of the day. It could be right off the bat and get it over with. It could be 11:59 and you're like, God damn it. But whatever. Just once a day, you just got to deal with that annoyance. And some are probably going to hurt more than others. Or B, there is a snake loose in your house. It's not deadly. Probably not going to bite you most of the time. You don't ever know where it is, but you can't kill it or get it out of your house. It's just there. Which torture hell are you living with?
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. I keep trying to find these out there ones, so at least there's some that make you think it's not just done.
Yeah, how big is the snake? Do I get to? Is it like a little garden snake? No, I don't care. I will take the bee sting. I do not want a snake. I do not want a snake in my house constantly. The not knowing where it is the key portion. I don't want a spider in my house that I don't know where it is. I sure as hell don't want a snake in my house that I don't know where it is. I don't care if it's a garden snake. There ain't no way. I will take the bee sting. I think I really will. The constant on edge terror of a snake being in my house sounds so much worse than a bee sting.
You could never sit down in case it was just underneath you, like underneath your feet. Like
horrible.
People I saw do this were like, I am playing the floor is lava for the rest of my life. I'm going
right.
from furniture to furniture.
I would just be on constant edge. I would never sleep. At least once I get stung by the bee, I know it's over. Yeah, I know my day is good, and I can move on to the next one. And I can buy a beekeeper suit or something. I don't know. I can't get around. So I get it.
Once you get stung, you're like, yes, done.
Yes, we're like, we're gonna have a great day. I couldn't do the constant fear. I couldn't do the constant fear.
It would get really old, but I think eventually my skin would just be like coarse.
It'd just be leather. Just every piece.
I mean,
just offering up different pieces of skin.
Yeah, can we spread it out? Can I? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just the same spot.
Spiders. So if that was a spider, I'm super out. I don't even care.
So out.
I don't care what size spider it is. If I'm not able to kill it or get rid of it, I'm
right.
I don't. I mean, I'm probably living that life now. There's probably a spider in my house at all times, but still, I don't want to choose that. So
yeah, agreed.
Well, now you know. If anybody would take the snake, please tell me, because like I said, either of them are killing you. The snake is probably not biting you most days, but I'm sure every once in a while you're getting an ankle got. So I
don't even want it to crawl near me, like by my feet. They're not slow. They
do the little like.
They just no. Yeah. I couldn't. No, I can't do it.
Okay. Well, moving on from that before I bomb.
Agreed.
Discord, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Yay! If you didn't know by now, I don't know why you're watching Week 18.
Yeah, especially Week 18. You guys have probably most everybody's checked out. We're gonna get like 6 views, and 4 of them are gonna be us.
Correct. Yeah, me rewatching.
I've accepted that.
Chapters. All right. Well, in other depressing news, NFL news, I took out Week 16 because it wasn't that exciting. I mean, we made it close. It was 24-30 to the Lions. I assumed we'd lose, but maybe we thought we'd steal a little bit.
Yeah.
Week 17 was worse. 33-10 to Green Bay. We're 1-5 in our last 6 games, and the only win was a 3-point win at the end of the game. So not great. We're 7-9 now. So I mean, before that we were 6-4. It was promising. Our upcoming schedule this week's just at Detroit, and they've already clinched the division. And we basically need to win and then have 3 to 4 dominoes fall for us to even make it. So I mean, I think we're an early game where it won't be decided by the time we're playing. So we'll probably be playing for all of it regardless, but. There's a situation where if we lose, we get the 10th overall pick. So I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, we can actually move all the way up to 9th, I think I saw, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it involves the Bears and like the Cardinals.
Oh, does it? Okay, I haven't looked that close.
There was a few where I'm like, well, that's never going to happen. Even to make playoffs, we have to beat Detroit and then have the Bears upset the Packers, the Cardinals upset the Seahawks, I think, and someone else out of 2 teams win. I'm like, none of those are happening. So
yeah.
Plus, if any team, even if Detroit is locked in at 2 or 3 or whatever they're at, if any team is going to be like, I don't care about sitting my starters, we're going to go for it all, it's Dan Campbell. So I'm like, they're going to destroy us no matter what.
Yeah, they're going for him.
Jaron Hall started last week. He got his official start. It was pretty rough. I mean, I don't think I didn't expect him to be the second coming of anything. I mean, he's a 5th-round rookie. But so I think some of the people out there were taking victory laps of like, you just wanted to see what you had in Jaron Hall. Look at it now. I'm like, I don't like. It's not better with
that's fine.
Dobbs. So I just wanted to get him some snaps. Like
now we know.
Yeah, right. Do any of the 3 that I just mentioned even end up as our backup quarterback next year? Like, would you just? I mean, I don't. Hall's under contract, but like,
I don't think we're getting rid of Hall. Right. Yeah, I don't think we're bringing back. I don't think we're bringing back Dobbs. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think we're going to spend money on that. Hall's under contract, and Mullins. I don't think he sticks around. So I've said it kind of the whole time with the injury for Kirk. I would not be surprised for us to sign him to a kind of lesser 1-year deal and us draft another quarterback of some kind, not necessarily one of the top ones. I see a lot of mocks to us getting like Jaden Daniels and things like that for the 1st-round pick, and I'm like, I feel like there's other areas and we can do stopgaps with veterans and be okay. I don't know that I want to use a 1st-round pick on it. I can see us, though, with the end of Kirk's contract doing it, so I wouldn't hate it, but I just feel like we could do enough with a different 1st-round pick to build elsewhere that we need, and then stopgap with enough veterans until next season or whatever we want to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is for me, it just depends. Like if there's like a standout defensive player out there that we can get, like a front 7 kind of guy, I'd be very tempted to not pass on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Beyond that, if like the 3 or 4 that we have targeted are gone, I would get it just because you can do the whole like, well, you don't have to throw them to the wolves and let them burn type of thing. But it's got to be one that's like a fit. Like I wouldn't be doing it just to do it. So like I know they talked about like Michael Penix or like Bo Nix, depending on if they're there. Like those would be interesting to me on the limited amount I know, but like I don't know. You better be really sold on it if you're doing it because we have enough other holes. Even though our defense has played great, even though we've had injuries this year, that like I would still take help elsewhere, like offensive line, secondary.
I agree.
Edge rusher, like those are things we still need. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not really sure what we can look into it more as it get into the offseason, but I don't know like where else the draft is deep in this year. I know like top heavy is
I don't know either.
Receivers, but that's it. So we got some work to do. Plus, if we lose Brian Flores, I feel less optimistic about our defense next year, which he's done great. So
yeah, there's a lot of good offensive linemen was the other thing I've seen, but other than that, it's more offensive side of the ball than defensive side. So I'll let you jump into the next one, but I'll be right back.
Sure. Okay. So moving into the NFL Pick'em, just wrapping this up. We talked about last episode kind of how it was solidified, but officially, your boy taking down the crown this year with our first season of using all 32 teams total. So I ended at 25-7. Basically went on a 3-6, 9, 11 game win streak to end the season, except the Cardinals losing to the Bears, but pretty solid, spaced out. Tyler was right behind me at 24-8. It basically came down to just him needing one extra loss to happen, and the Chiefs luckily held on. So we were in the top two. Tyler was last year when we did only 16 teams. Tyler was first, and I was third. So we've been podium both times. Doesn't matter what version. So our strategy in the season all kind of panned out with saving the good team, so it worked out. But Nick, actually, ironically, Nick was also in the podium last year and is in the podium this year. So it was the same top three, no matter what. Nick was 22-10, so a little distant third behind Tyler and myself. Nate, Mac, and Foster all tied for fourth, technically at 21-11, so still a solid showing, basically like 2/3 correct. Connor and Joe ended up tying for 15-17, so just under 500. The two of them kind of got burned by some early season misfortune using some good teams that had upset losses. So that's always great when you're the person who collects the money for a game, because then you don't have to pay anything out, but it's sad because you don't feel like you got anything new. It was like old money from months ago. So I hate being the secretary of stuff.
With you. Yeah, I'm the commissioner. I was like, I'm commissioner. I did all that fun stuff as well.
Yeah. Next time I take
makes the bank account hurt at the end of the season, and I'm like, wait, why am I losing $700?
Right. I always tell myself, I'm like, I'm just going to withdraw that money and put it in an envelope and not touch it, because then it won't feel like it's bad. But then I don't do that. So yeah.
Then you just got to put it back in to. Then you just got to put it back in the bank to disperse it anyway.
Right.
Or I guess you just have the cash around. But
just
either way, it's not fun.
So, MinneZona Sports NFL season-long pick'em. A couple weeks ago, I kind of slipped a little bit. Well, I did fine, but the guy competing with me got like every single coin flip game correct. So he passed me. He was 3 up on me last week. I did gain 1 game back by picking the Packers over the Vikings. So I'm 2 games back total. 168 versus 170. So this week is so screwy and fluky that it's like, I'm like, do I pick the underdogs because the favorites are going to have their starters sitting? But then I'm like, does he just do the same thing? So I don't.
Yeah, it's a hard one for you.
Crazy, because you only need 2 wins. Like, it's not like I need to come back from a ton. So I still want to have most of the layups correct. But like, I don't know. It'll suck to be that close because I had it for a little bit there. But
yeah,
MinneZona Sports. If you want to give out second place prizes, that's cool too. So. I don't have most of these solidified because I'm very, very like flipping and flopping as we get news of who's starting and sitting. But as far as my initial early on picks, I will tell you I have the Ravens, Texans, Saints, Browns, Jaguars, Lions, Jets, Bucks, Packers, Cowboys, Raiders, Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles, Seahawks, and Bills. Bills is probably the most interesting game of the week because they can basically take the second seed or miss the playoffs, and the Dolphins can go between 2 and 6, I believe. So, I mean, that's maybe a spicy one. I am still picking the 49ers despite most of their stars sitting because it sounds like Stafford, Cooper Kupp.
The Rams are also sitting.
Sit them. So,
they're locked in 6 or 7, so minimal difference. They know they're going on the road. They just got to figure out where.
The only other spicy ones, I guess, I'm currently taking the Jets at 36% versus the Patriots because it's just a gross dumpster fire, and maybe a little spicy with the Patriots being at home. But again, the Jets' defense is better than the Patriots' defense, and offense is both terrible. So that's what I'm hoping on. yeah, beyond that, it seems pretty consensus. Texans only being at 58% surprised me over the Colts because
me too.
The Texans are a better team. They're both 9-7, but yeah, so. Ravens, I may flip flop on because I know they're sitting Lamar. They might sit some other people, whereas the Steelers have an outside shot to make the playoffs. So I could see them playing hard still, but they've got the winning record locked up. So what do they care? So that's about it.
That's true.
We'll see if I flip flop beyond that, but. Tyler, I don't think you're catching up, so I guess I don't know if you have any insight.
No, I don't. Like I said, I fell out of it, and I was like, okay, I'm all done now. Thanks, guys. Good talk.
That's enough of this game. All right.
I was like, I told you, I was like, I'm either taking first or I'm not. And I essentially went an entire week of against, and then you guys got 12, and I got like 6, and I was like, all right, these are kind of coin flips, and I got all of them wrong, and I'm like, all right, I'm in 12th. Bye, guys.
Yeah, this was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's cool seeing it season long, and just to I'll have mine, and we'll give Tyler an average, and at least we can see what we can kind of like shoot for next year. But moving to another one of our games, we got swimming upstream.
Maybe I did this 3 times even before you got here.
It worked. I heard it, so we're good.
It's in there.
Yeah, so swimming upstream. Week 16, I'll just give mine 2, and then I'll give Tyler's 2. Week 16, I had Baker, who had 19.82, and then Tyler had Jake Browning for 13.4. Down week for him, but he bounced back in week 17, taking him again, getting 21.08, and I had Carr for only 15.58. So adding those 2 in, that brings me to just over 300, so I'm at 300.58. QB5 as of last week, which is awesome. I am just above Jordan Love, and I'm 17 points behind Dak. Probably not going to catch him because he's playing this week, so they can lock up the division, and it's against Washington, so not great. Tyler, meanwhile, is at 243.22. He is up to QB15, which is 2 spots up, and he's only 12 points off of QB12, which was
nice.
24 a week ago. So,
and 39 the week before that.
Yeah, you got a shot for
that's kind of crazy.
Finish. If you can finish QB1 and I can finish, or QB1 and I finish top 5, I feel like we're doing well. So
that's pretty sick.
Week 18, I technically have the first pick for our final week here. I am hopeful that Tyrod gets cleared officially. He should likely to play. They basically said he was the starter and then listed him questionable, so I'm assuming. But if so, I am going with Tyrod Taylor versus Philly. They are the 32nd best against quarterbacks, so it's not great, and I'm hoping they just have nothing to lose and kind of sling around. He seems to have some kind of a connection with Darius Slayton, so I'm positive on that one. My only concern really is if they're not doing well and they bench him to put DeVito back in and I get like a half a game. But if he plays the full game just based on his rushing upside alone and playing from behind, I would assume I get like a 17-plus kind of game. So,
yeah, agreed. So I think that's the right call. The Philly has just been so bad, and it definitely makes sense. And paying up for somebody like Dak is just like super expensive in DFS this week. So I'm like, someone like Tyrod is perfect for that kind of pivot as well against another terrible defense. And so I'm just going to continue on the Bengals train. Just give me Jake Browning again.
3 Pete in a row. Look at that guy.
He's going to, so what? We got 13.5, 21. So he's going to get me about 17 this week. I mean, perfect. Good middle. Good. And he's going to hit me right at QB 12.
You could easily pass a couple of them. So
yeah, this is going to be perfect. He's going to get me 17. I'm going to move up to QB 13. You're going to finish at QB 5, and we're going to be exact inverse of last year when you finished QB 13 and I finished QB 5.
That would be very, very crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll recap that one whenever we get to it. So now moving into all things listener questions and stuff. Most importantly, well, I guess, should I do the 2 listener questions first, or should I do my fun facts for you first? Because I haven't added any new, but this was like 2 weeks ago, fun facts. I was so excited.
You can do fun facts, because then we'll get into the serious stuff.
Perfect. All right, kicking it off. These are all based on heading into end of last week, so heading into week 17, not post week 17, so don't at me and tell me when I'm wrong. But Jahmyr Gibbs is the leader in 20-plus yard carries this year with 10. CMC was the closest at 8, and nobody else was above 6. So that's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Not only
so
him
explosive.
Getting more touches, but him like getting the big touches consistently, and over CMC surprised me. Another one that you'll love, because this is one of your guys typically. If you remove his one injured game where he put up 1.1 points because he left early, Debo is averaging 19 points a game this year.
God, he was. Yeah, I know we'll get to it in a little bit, but I'm like, he was my wild card. Like, he was literally like, I'm like, this man is going to finish as wide receiver 3, like he does all the time, or he's going to finish like as wide receiver 29, like he does all the time. There is no in between. Naturally, this year he was an in between, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is preceding the last big week for Njoku, but David Njoku and Amari Cooper each had 100 yards last week. Guess the last time the Browns had 2 players get 100 yards receiving.
The leather helmet era, the 1940s.
Not quite that bad. 2013 with Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron.
Okay, that's fair. I kind of forgot about Jordan Cameron. I'm not gonna lie. I figured somebody with Josh Gordon, but I couldn't figure out who was even relevant with him.
You could have given me 100 guesses, and I wouldn't have even known who played with him. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 10 years later, and I took a tight end to do it.
It's not bad.
Have 2 receivers. Over the last 2 weeks, so week 16 and week 15 and 16, excuse me, Gabe Davis had run 57 routes. He had the same number of catches and yards as I did in that span. So, not doing
the definition of boomer bust. He is the other Mike Williams. It seems
Mr. Best Ball.
He is Mr. Best Ball.
All right,
and I'd much rather have Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Much rather.
Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones in their first 48 career starts. I'm going to go first number is Lawrence, second number is Daniel Jones. Wins 20-19, passer rating 85.5 to 85.4, touchdowns to interceptions 55-35 and 55-33, basically the same. Slightly better for Daniel Jones. Passing plus rushing yards combined 12,204 for Trevor, 11,992 for Daniel Jones, less than 300 yards difference.
Yeah.
Yards per attempt, both 6.7. Almost every single
That's
major
crazy.
metric is implying Daniel Jones is just the same as Trevor Lawrence, which there's very different viewpoints in our minds. So
yeah,
and you would argue probably that Trevor Lawrence has much better weapons. So that's
I agreed. That's pretty crazy. I've never really been a believer in either of them, which is kind of crazy, but because so many people loved it. But I mean, obviously Daniel Jones was a very high draft pick in his own right. That seemed crazy at the time, but he's at least shown to be a serviceable individual, and the man got paid, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
That's the problem, is now they don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. They're stuck with it too. So rushing ability masks a whole lot.
Correct. Back when we were 7-7, our point differential this year was 294 and 269 against, so a plus 21 point differential. The Eagles, who were 10-4 at the time, 359 for, 341 against, 18-point differential. The much better Philadelphia Eagles didn't even have that, so they've just
that's crazy.
Even since the first couple of weeks, they just haven't looked like themselves last year. So big disappointments. Not a believer. Yeah,
I agree.
Couple Thursday night footballs ago, Aiden O'Connell and Easton Stick combined to throw for more touchdowns, 7, than Kenny Pickett has on the season, 6.
That's so great. That was such a terrible game. That was such a bad
I'm loving these because I didn't remember them from a week and a half ago, so these are just reliving too. Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence both have 14 multi-touchdown games. Interesting. Trevor has 48 starts. Purdy had 19.
Yeah,
so.
Purdy's a dude.
And also, I'm just dunking on Trevor Lawrence tonight, apparently. So.
Yeah, apparently.
This one's bananas. This is my favorite one. 28% of Jalen Hurts' fantasy points this year have come from just the tush push.
Dude, it's so crazy. Every year, it's like, hey, he's going to be a top 3 QB or whatever because of rushing prowess and everything like that. It's like, at some point, you just expect there to be some type of rushing touchdown regression. And every year, they're like, hey, by the way, when we get inside the 5-yard line, just stay on the sideline, running backs.
I don't know if you listened to the New Heights podcast, but clips here and there. Jason was talking to Travis.
Yeah.
He was like, how he says when Swift gets within the 10-yard line or the 5, he turns to him and is like, "I'm so sorry." We know
because you know it's coming.
I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll cause touchdown regression for him is when they ban the tush push inevitably, and then they find
it is insane to watch them do that. The overhead angle of every single time they rush that. The entire offensive line is 2.5 yards downfield. Yeah. They just destroy the offensive line. They have that They have that down to an absolute art form. And having a quarterback who can literally squat 600 pounds helps.
Yeah, there's that. That's very scary to watch.
He is a monster. If you haven't seen Jalen Hurts squat, please go watch it.
When the bar is just completely like rubber looking bent, like when it's like you're doing the pencil trick in grade school.
Yeah, not great.
The Giants leading into Week 16, they were alive for both the playoffs at that point and the number 2 overall pick.
It's ridiculous.
Drew Lock, when Kenneth Walker had a long touchdown a couple weeks ago, Drew Lock reached 18 miles per hour running like behind him and catching up. Kenneth Walker topped out on that run at 16.1. So
that is embarrassing.
Insulting for Kenneth Walker. But
insulting.
Drew Lock got wheels. So
Drew Lock does have wheels, but that's ridiculous.
A part B to the Jalen Hurts one before. He just set the record, obviously, this year for quarterback rushing touchdowns in the season with 15. Guess how many yards he has on those 15? I mean, kind of indicative based on pushing, but
on his 15 rushing touchdowns,
yeah,
I'm going to say like 40.
39.
Yeah, 38, yeah.
Cam Newton, the previous record holder, ran for 49 yards alone on his last touchdown to break the record. So, little different context in the record there. But anyway. And then lastly, the Bengals this season versus non-divisional teams, 8-2, versus AFC North teams, 0-5.
That's so crazy. Like, and nobody went through and was like, hey, this is a great division. Like, everybody knew the Ravens were going to be good and et cetera, but everyone thought the Steelers were going to be absolute trash cans and that they always fall off. Tomlin always seems to figure it out. Don't get me wrong. I have no idea how the crap he does it. Continues to do it year after year with that team. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous to just be absolutely horrible within your division, and especially when that's the first tiebreaker after ties. Not a good record to hold.
Yeah, not ideal. Nobody saw the Bengals obviously finishing last in their division. Would have helped if they had Joe Burrow, but still, it's a crazy division every year. It might not be the top,
right,
but it's always like the
that's
most
crazy.
So that's it for fun facts.
True. Yeah.
Now I got 2 listener questions this week. Surprisingly, we're used to having 0, so this is a whole new world. First one, one of my buddies asked, which teams? Obviously, I know it's week 18, so we aren't completely decided yet, but we'll just say which teams that are currently the top 7 in the playoffs would you cheer for / be happy with winning the Super Bowl? Not like, hey, it's fine, but like who's left in your AFC and NFC to be like, I guess that's who I'm pulling for.
I mean, I guess if who's in. I mean, I would have no issue with if I start with.
I can say AFC too if you want like the teams listed.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I was just trying to think of like who's the best. I mean NFC wise, like I would have no issue with the 49ers. I think I would be just fine with that. And then like I mean the Rams, the rest of the NFC. I don't want the Cowboys. I mean I'm not a Cowboys hater at all, but just the whole America's team thing. I don't need to see them win it. Certainly don't want to see the Lions win it. Don't need to see the Eagles win it. Like I don't know. Sure as hell don't want to see the Packers win it. And then whoever comes out of the NFC South, like so I guess like Falcons, Bucks, Saints. I wouldn't hate any of those. I could, yeah. So yeah, I don't really want the Saints either. AFC wise, Ravens, and I mean I'm indifferent. The Dolphins would be pretty sweet. I mean I think that would be pretty cool. I don't need to see the Chiefs win it again. I don't see it. Browns would be an incredible story. So I mean that would be kind of crazy. And then I wouldn't mind seeing the Bills get one. I mean I know they're always kind of in it, so it'd be crazy after the tumultuous season that they had for them to come all the way back and win it after it's been like they're going to be the AFC rep like 4 years in a row, or at least fight it out with the Chiefs. And now the Chiefs have faltered for what they're used to, even though they still dominated the division. So I wouldn't mind the Bills. Dolphins will go with for the AFC, 49ers, I guess, Rams for the NFC.
Yeah, that's fair. I think AFC, I'm the same as you with the Ravens, where I don't want or diswant.
Yeah, indifferent. Yeah.
Like whatever. For me, the big picture of the AFC would be Dolphins, and then Cleveland. I'm torn because I don't want Deshaun Watson to get a ring, but I love
that is fair.
Of, like, if they win or go far into the playoffs with Flacco, then it's like, what do? Like you give him a contract.
So good, so good.
So I would say the Dolphins for sure is my number one, just because I love Mike.
I would agree with that.
And I like a lot of the players. Buffalo, I feel for because they always lose in the AFC Championship game, so I would love to see them represent the AFC, even if they don't win it. And then beyond that, I mean, I know Indy's technically the number 7 seed, but they're tied with Houston right now. I would love to see Houston go far, flipping it around.
I would love that as well.
So that would be pretty crazy. On the NFC side, I've been a 49ers support. I wouldn't say fan. They aren't like one of my teams, but they're a team that I like to cheer for.
True.
I was wearing 49ers gear when we went to the Super Bowl at your guys' house back in the day. So when they lost, I personally am the opposite, where I would be definitely cheering for Detroit. I think they're a cool, feel-good story, and I like seeing them succeed. I don't care if they're in a division. I'm not considering them a rival like I would the Packers, and I feel like a lot of Lions fans would feel the same about Vikings if it were reversed. So if it's San Fran or Detroit, I'm good. I guess if it's Tampa or the Falcons, I'm fine. I hate the Saints, so I don't want that.
I'm not the Saints.
That, I don't care. So it's like wild card teams. It's either Philly, Rams just won one, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Saints.
That's true.
So give me those 4-ish, I guess, and I'll be happy. But I'm sure it's going to end up being like Chiefs and Cowboys or something. I'll just
oh my God, if it's Chiefs and Cowboys, I'll be so mad.
It was like either 2 of the last 3 years. It's been like, I don't like either of these teams, so what do I do? So it's nice having one to cheer for.
And if it's somehow Chiefs Eagles again, like, come on. Sounds horrible.
Look, I guess Mahomes, because the Eagles fans are jerks, but like, I don't need Mahomes to keep being there. So
no.
Anyways, we'll do some episode at some point in the playoffs, probably closer to the Super Bowl, and at least can pick our teams then. And then the last one. This one's going to get a little bit more serious here, but I'll give a context, because we did have another person write into the show. Physically, they sent in a letter, an envelope. So they had a question in their home league. So they are commissioner in it. I will leave names of stuff out, but they are commissioner, and they had a situation where there was a suspect trade that went through, and the trade itself, just to start off with context, was a 2024 first, projected top 4 at that time. It has since been confirmed as 103. So it was a bad team trading it away to get Josh Reynolds and a 2025, so 2 years out, 3rd round pick, which presumably would be a late. So that was the trade, which I guess I am totally in support of, not typically vetoing, if you don't know any context.
Yeah.
But this commissioner also informed me that the previous 2 parties involved had also made a trade in the past involving money, where one paid the other one to get their better players. So not ethical whatsoever.
That's horrible already.
They have denied any such claims regarding this trade, but obviously it's enough to make you question it based on the BS-ness of the trade, and then also their history involved. Several league members were upset. This came out, I think, a couple months ago, but the commissioner was, his wife was having a baby at the time, and he didn't notice it, so it was brought to his attention now, and he's just trying to kind of figure stuff out in the off season. So I'll let you weigh in, and then I'll just fill in if there's anything you don't cover. But what are your initial thoughts, just so we kind of each have our own on paper here?
Yeah, I mean, at first when you said the trade, I'm like, I mean, yeah, it sounds like obviously one individual is potentially a newer player versus the other one. You just wanted me to talk so you could get over your 2.5. I knew that was happening.
I'm only on 2 now, so.
Yeah. But initially, obviously, my thought is just like, hey, somebody doesn't know what they're doing, especially in a dynasty league. You can play redraft fantasy football as much as you want. Dynasty is a whole different world when it comes to player evaluations. But on top of that, Josh Reynolds isn't and has never been a useful asset no matter what year of the career he was in. And he's like, 6 years in, 7 years in, something like that. So. Yeah, so 6 years in. So he's never been useful. So nobody's thinking that he's even close to worth a first-round pick, plus a third. Again, in a dynasty draft, if you know what you're doing, doesn't really mean much of anything anyway. So that just tells me that person that's giving up the first-round pick doesn't understand what these people are worth. So I initially chalk it up to okay, this person just doesn't know what they're doing. But then you put in hey, now these 2 have traded before and there has been cash involved. Now everything is just instantly sketchy. You can deny it all you want. There's likely something else happening because you've already been caught doing it once and obviously confronted about it. And now you're not going to just say, oh yeah, just kidding, we did it again. Right. As far as what a commissioner could or should do. I'm the commissioner of a couple leagues, so I've been in these types of scenarios before. The first one is really the first thing you got to do is just figure out how committed somebody is to that, because a dynasty league typically goes for many, 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 many years. So if somebody is remorseful of that type of trade and saying like, oh man, I messed up, I was hammered. People do that all the time. That's totally fine. If it's on the contrary where they're like, hey, I don't care, it doesn't matter, you guys are making too big of a deal out of it and whatever, it is what it is, I'm in the process of trying to kick somebody out then, and move on and look for somebody who's going to be more committed and take it more seriously, because Dynasty is kind of truly only for the truly committed. It's a near year-round thing. That's the excitement of it. That's the fun of it. And if somebody's going to be that nonchalant with very important picks, first-round picks are pretty much the only important pick in Dynasty, first- and second-round picks for that matter. And if they're just going to throw it around for nothing or do kind of backdeal collusions, Dynasty pots are typically bigger. You usually roll over a lot of money because they're supposed to be long-term and whatnot. So it feels very collusion-y, especially if the two individuals know each other well, or have done trades like this in the past. It feels very much like they have done the same thing again, even if they're not willing to admit it. So the first thing I'm doing is figure out how committed one or both of them are. And if either one or however you want to do it aren't committed, I'm trying to kick somebody out. As far as reversing or keeping it, that one's a hard one for me. But if it feels very collusion-y, I would have no problem reverting it, especially if the other individual's like, I just did it just cause whatever. I mean, there's got to be something else going on. So it's a tough one for me. You never want to reverse something as a commissioner. But if it feels like there's that collusion there and it's happened before and somebody just doesn't give a crap, it makes me feel like, hey, there's something else going on.
Yeah, that's the big part for me. I think I'm commissioner of our main Dynasty league and then a couple of other small ones that aren't as important too. But I think in the Dynasty context, like you said, it matters more. So I could totally see somebody being like, yeah, I'd love to check Dynasty out, and then making poor trades. But that happened in our league kind of with a few people early on. Like, people will always make bad trades, or you have your own opinion on who won or who lost a trade. But a few people early on in our first league of this league made some where you could tell it made sense in a redraft, but they weren't thinking dynasty wise. Where I think the Jamal Williams and Terry McLaurin trade, which worked out that year. Don't be wrong, and McLaurin's kind of since tapered, but it was a trade where it's you don't make it. It sounds fine in redraft, but you don't make it in Dynasty because XYZ is going to have so many more years and blah, blah, blah. Right. So I totally get if somebody is no, I'm still kind of learning how to work these out. And in those situations, I haven't reversed or vetoed any trades as commissioner, but in those, I would maybe step in and just be A, do I know if this person's fantasy skill level? But I would step in and be hey, here's why this makes sense. Do what you want with your team, but here's why people are maybe reacting that it was a poor one, and here's how you kind of need to think of it. Not on a specific player. I'm not going to tell you how to run your team because I don't know better. And there's so many times where dynasty trades happen and people are oh my God, you're an idiot. Why would you make that trade?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And
yeah, dynasty is way different.
Reverse. So we don't know. Things can change like that. Next year we could have, look at Dalvin Cook the last couple of years, and all of a sudden he's cut and he didn't do anything this year. Stuff happens so quickly. So that context I get, but it's kind of more of do you know the person's experience level in fantasy? It sounds like this person has played in a couple of other leagues with the commissioner before, so it's not they're new. They might be new to Dynasty, but they know what they're doing when it comes to trades and everything. So that's my first piece. My second piece, beyond just looking at how bad the trade is does it make sense? And so if you're telling me this team who was bad last year is currently bad, that would make sense for them to be trading away a decent player to get picks, not giving away picks to get a player who's not going to move the needle whatsoever. So I've seen tons of times where somebody's I'll give you 2 firsts for a 1-year rental of this guy that's about to implode. If I'm wrong, it is what it is, but at least there's some sense made of what they were trying to do. And that's a big part of what you were saying, where what are they responding with after? If people are calling their trades out, you don't have to defend yourself, but if the commissioner's reaching out separately and saying, hey, people are kind of questioning this seems like a shady trade, if you can be well, here's what I was thinking and why I think the trade makes sense, all for it. Even if it's totally wrong, you can argue that trading away CMC for a second round pick was the great move, and it wasn't, but if you have a reason for it, totally fine. But if your answer, like you said, is just that to me makes me be either something shady's going on, or you just don't know what's going on or don't care, and that's not going to work. I would give somebody the benefit of the doubt, not assuming collusion until the very end. But the second that I found out that these two, which I don't know if I mentioned, are related, that also go and play with family, like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But like they're related and they had been caught in this exact same league doing that thing, you lose all reasonable doubt from me at that point.
Correct.
I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and now I'm like, doesn't feel great. So whatever the reason is, my thought is it's either collusion and cheating, or it's indifference by one who just doesn't care, and they're like, well, might as well give it to my family member who does want to win, or it's ignorance and inexperience. Any of those three, I stand by it should be reversed, regardless. It's just the reasoning that you give why it was reversed. Inexperience seems like it should be like hey, I'm reversing this, here's the reasoning why, and talk with the person one-on-one to try to help them out or explain. And then if they do it again, I guess it is what it is, they're learning. But if it's the other two, it's, this is why I'm reversing it. I don't trust you guys twice now. And like you said, I'd be finding somebody else in the league, or I would play with 10. I would play with 11 and add a league median person before I would just keep them just to have 12.
Correct.
Like, it's going to destroy your league one way or the other. And it's not even that much that I care about this one team having a bad team and they're going to always lose and stuff. It tips the balance of the league so greatly when one person is getting the benefits of somebody else's team, because everybody else has to now compete with a not even dispersed playing field.
Yes.
So,
long
story short, we're basically both saying the same thing, but there's a reason why we would feel that way. So that, in my position, I'm sure there's other commissioners that would do differently, but I think the majority would agree to at least reverse the trade, and then it's probably a coin flip on whether you remove them, but that's all based on like what their response is. If their response is like, I get it, like I don't agree, but I guess it is what it is, and I'll try to like keep that in mind going forward. Cool, fair enough. No hard feelings. Like I want it to be fun. But if you're like, deal with it, guys. What's your problem? I don't care anyway. Well, okay, then maybe this isn't for you. Like, again, no hard feelings, but like, it's different than a redraft league. I'm not saying you're not allowed to play, but like, it's meant for people that all take it seriously constantly. So, Anyway, okay, moving on to the unique leagues wrap up. Bomb Skulls and Butt Cheeks. Shout out to Al for the winners. He has it locked up already going into week 18, and Walter's pretty much had it locked up like 8 weeks ago, but he's the Butt Cheeks side winner. So the only interesting part, which I reached out to Al to get, so at least there's something to play for, is this week Al needs at least one win from his 3 teams to break the previous record of last year, who had the most wins record. And Walters needs 2 losses by 3 of his teams. It's probably going to happen to break the record that I set with my losers last year. So interesting, cool. On pace for about the same. But shout out to those guys. Guillotine League. I didn't get to talk about how excited I was to make it out of 3rd place last week, so I did do that. 3 straight years being in the podium, and this was the first year that I at least got above 3rd. And then this year, I lost by 3 points. So everybody else did fine. I saw Josh Allen get a rushing touchdown. I saw Kyron Williams going off for me. AJ Brown was a little disappointing. Again, he's been disappointing a lot since I picked him up. But the big dagger was Alvin Kamara getting hurt partway through the game when he had a really good matchup. So that killed me. I was in it through the Monday night game into the 4th quarter. Justin Jefferson was like 0.08 behind me, and then he got like 4 more points. So brutal. Didn't win that one. That was what I cared most about, but it's okay because at least I got 2nd. So 3 years of that.
Yeah, not bad.
I can not turn around now and take all my good luck and finish like 16th. So
there you go.
Best ball, I'll let you talk about because you have way more exciting news there.
No, it was great. I had a great team, and I just had schedule luck, and by that I mean lack thereof, the entire year. So I lost essentially going all the way into the playoffs, kind of snuck my way in and kept myself in like the 5 seed essentially, and then your boy went bananas. I think I was the highest scorer through all of the weeks. So I won my first matchup against Al. My second round matchup, I honestly don't even remember who I played. And then we got into the championship against Garlic. So I think I played Josh second round, and then got into Garlic in the championship. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, just fantasy playoff hero. I think I had Kyron Williams as well. So, I mean, and I had Lamar, which helps to have 5 or 6 touchdowns in a championship game. So I scored like 190 points. So your boy took down the best ball championship. So it was a lot of fun. Less fun when it's not for any money because it was the first draft of the year. I think we drafted in like July. But always great to put any type of championship to the name.
Especially your first year too.
Yeah, that is true. That is one of the first, not the first ever best ball that I've played. I guess I've done like random, like underdog drafts and things like that from years past, but certainly the first best ball that I've ever won. Not a fan. Not a fan. No, I don't know that I'll play again. I figured out. Moves. Well, and so there's so many things they give you, like you get emails on like waiver wire suggestions, and so you can like preload teams into apps, and so every week it'd be like, hey dumbasses, pick up Puka Nakua. And I'm like, guys, stop, you're killing me.
Has him.
Nobody has him.
They were like, you might need some depth on so and so. I'm like, yeah, 2/3 of my bench is hurt. What do you want me to do? So,
so it was fun. I will take the championship, but best ball is great to just kind of get warmed up in July and August. But I'm definitely a dynasty and redraft and auction guy versus best ball. Turns out I like the weekly tinkering. I need to cut back on them a little bit because I had too many this year. So I needed too much tinkering. Waiver wire day is stressful to figure out how many people. So I like the maintenance of best ball, but the draft and then seeing 18 weeks is a little different.
Yeah, I just kept feeling frustrated because it was the league I think I definitely did the worst in of most of them, and I was just like, there's something I can do.
Oh, yeah.
Like, great, cool, this is fun. So Tyler has agreed to split half of his $0 winnings with me for inviting him into this league last minute. So
yeah, that is true. I think it was the day of the draft. Jack was like, "Hey, do you want in?" I'm like, "Sure."
Somebody backed out or like didn't answer, so Garlic removed them. And they're like, "Does anybody have anyone?" And I was like, "Tyler, accept this link right now. Quick, go." So everybody probably thanks me for inviting.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then you wouldn't have won. So. All right, and then the DFS League, I don't have the leaderboard updated, so for those of you that are listening that are actually in it still, I'm sorry. I'll post it tomorrow. But as far as the top 3 scores of the week, it's Tyler, Jordan, and Ryan, who were already in the top 7. So Tyler stays in first, I'm assuming, between the 2 weeks I have to add in here. Ben was pretty firmly in second, but I know he's had a couple of down weeks, so Jordan might be closing in, and then Nick had a good 2 weeks ago as well. So we'll see. Week 18 is going to be a disaster because so many lineups are going to have people that end up not playing or playing a quarter. So I don't know how to go with this. I guess I'm only picking players that are in playoff contention. Yeah,
exactly. It's certainly a pick the people with motivation week because otherwise you might get screwed. Or if you're already out too. I was like with this, I don't know how close these are with scores and whatnot, but I'm like, Ben had a couple down weeks. I think he beat me by like 14 points in week 16. And then this last week, I can't even remember what I had, but I think Ben took last. I think he had like 90
this past week too. I think it was only like 130s and 40s.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I think I had like 130, and then Ben had like 90 or something like that. So I'm like, I might have this locked up if I don't set a lineup.
I think you have it locked up, assuming you just go safe this week. That's the thing. You don't have to take any. Really
I'm not gonna go. Yeah, I don't have to go crazy. So, if I score more than 70 points, I think I should be okay.
I think if I were you, I'd be doing a lot of like just everybody is $6,000, no like 9,000 and 3,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas I'm going.
I don't need to win. I need to not lose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Ben is firmly in second.
I think so too.
And I think 3rd through 7th is anybody's game. So, moving really quick into the matchup recap. Speaking of Ben, he was in the championship in our home league. Tyler, take it away.
Yeah, I think that's where Ben's focus was. So into round 2, after Ben and Jordan had buys, I won my first round matchup, and then Josh won his first round matchup as well. So then it was the battle of the besties. It was me versus Jordan and Ben versus Josh, and unfortunately Jordan came out on top. His Team of Bananas, Brees Hall was absolutely awesome for him, so I couldn't quite get there. And then Ben over Josh as well. So 1 and 2 seed went into the championship, and Jay Wow came out victorious with his unprecedented 4th championship in this league. Nobody likes to see it. I can say that. He absolutely dominated, 157 to 114. So his Kyron Williams, Brees Hall, just everybody absolutely dominated. So congrats, JWoww. Pretty incredible. I think you're officially the GOAT of the league so far.
Yeah.
Nobody can argue it. You're the only. You've got 4. Nobody else has more than 2. So hard to argue with anything.
Which, again, I'm so sorry that it wasn't intentional, but we forgot to apparently give you a letter grade back when we did the draft.
Did we actually?
Apparently, he said that a couple times, and I believe that we probably forgot a couple because we were just talking, and we might have said all of his positions and then not actually given him a letter, or we might have stopped doing the letters. I don't know, but
I don't remember.
Sorry if we didn't. It wasn't because we thought you were bad. We even said at the time, we're like, he's either going to win or he's going to lose and take last place. So I think I said that to him.
I said he needs to survive.
2 months into the season, once they all came back, like in mid-October or early November, I was like, this may have worked out really, really well for you because everybody is good. And he just said like earlier this week after he won, because I texted him congrats and blah, blah, and he was like, the problem now is I'm tempted to do that every year, and I'm going to go take like 11th next year when they don't come back. So it was really impressive. It was kind of one of those, I think I even said at the time, either to you when we were talking during the drafts or on the next episode, where I was like, as soon as you decided to take one of them, like do the Jonathan Taylor gamble, then it made sense to do all of them. There was no like Jonathan Taylor and then play it safe. It was like Taylor, Breece Hall, give me everybody that's like question marks. Yeah. I'm going to be great or terrible. When he was towards the bottom, and then it was like 2 wins, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Like he just kept getting all the wins.
He started 0-6, and he finished 19-3 from there on out, I think is what it was. So as soon as everybody came back, like there was so many ifs there, which is why we said he's either going to finish last or he's going to win it. Like that was my exact quote, and that's exactly what happened. Because you got to remember at the beginning of the season, Breece coming off an ACL tear. After them signing Dalvin Cook, that's the type of news that we had going into the season. Everyone thought we were going to get a split, and Breece was never going to get that back. And Jonathan Taylor at the time was so disgruntled and so at odds with Indy. They were like, not only is he hurt, there's no way he comes back and plays. And if he gets traded to a new team, what does that look like? Where does he go? And it all was just like, hey, by the way, Breece is fine. JT's going to get a deal. And now Jordan's just going to fucking roll. So, I mean, that has been Jordan's MO. I think he's made the playoffs in less than half of the years, or right at half of the years. Yeah, I think it's 8 out of 15 years, and he has 4 championships. So 50% of the time he's made the playoffs, he's won the championship. So it's like, we've said that all along. Jordan's like, if I get in, I win it. That just is what it is. But I'm usually not in it. So
it's true.
He loves the risk, and it works out for him. So touche to you, JWoww.
One of the only people with a win over Jordan this year head-to-head, just saying. So I think
there you go. I beat him as well head-to-head, and it was in like week 2.
Yeah, he got you back in the playoffs, sadly. So
yeah, he did. And then as far as third place game, Josh absolutely dominated me. So I kind of felt bad for him because Ben's team did okay in the semifinals, and Josh's team kind of shit the bed a little bit. I mean, it was relatively close, but then Josh's team absolutely decimated me. Scored 189 points in championship week, so it was kind of brutal. So Josh, touche in third. At least you got a little bit of extra money. So I know you're real sad that your team kind of faltered in the semifinals, because it's a dominating potential championship performance. But hey, at least you won a little bit of money. So that's what we got. So we finished off with Jordan taking first, Ben taking second, Jordan taking third, and then I took fourth.
Yeah, I can sympathize with Josh's feelings there in what we're about to talk about. So
yeah.
Dynasty Leagues, Tyler was out of them previously, so going into mine, deflate these balls, shout out to Josh, he at least got the win in that one, so that's exciting. He came from basically like last or couple second to last year and wins it all, so that was awesome to see. He beat me in an ugly semifinals game, like 77-68. So I actually almost had a chance to win, but my team didn't deserve to be even in the second round. So, but then Taco, speaking of how Josh felt, in the playoffs, I took third with 155 points, and I don't know where the fuck that came from because it wasn't there last week. The champions both had 30 and 40 points less than me. So if I would have just beaten Mac, who I barely lost to in the semis, I would have walked away with the championship. Because CeeDee Lamb's 92-yard touchdown to start, I was just like, of course. Mm-hmm. And the worst part is I don't even have my own so in our league, the third and fifth place games, I made it because it's stupid to have people intentionally lose to have a better draft pick. So I was like, well, if you win, you get the better draft pick of the two head-to-head. So I won third, meaning I would have a 109 instead of 110, but I don't even have my own pick, so it was like there's nothing to play for, and there was nothing to make me feel not sad about this. So if I would have made the championship, I would have beaten everybody's scores that week, but I didn't, which in context wouldn't have mattered because I think Glick had more points than me in the semis anyway, and So he deserved to be there previously because I couldn't even beat Mac. So regardless, more importantly, because we haven't even talked about it, but Glick, shout out to him as the official champion. He took down Mac in a nail biter that Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones barely got him past, which I was sweating for the Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Thanks to Glick, the league lives on again. So it is not going to be a 2-year rental on the league where we get disbanded because Mac wins and we all vote to disband everything. So Glick keeps it alive by keeping Mac out of it, but he does have a first and a second place finish. So the real question is, and we'll get into this in the offseason once like rookie drafts pass and stuff, both Mac and Glick have definitely sold away first rounders and sold away like younger talent to get older veterans, and clearly it worked because they're both in the championship. Second and third seeds coming in, they were heavy favorites as well. The question is, like, those two teams are very constructed similarly, so we're going to like talk about in the offseason of how long we think their windows are going to last, because I could easily see either one of them like having some guys age out and look very different next year, but it's one of those where clearly it worked because you're the first two champions. So I mean, like, you know, short term sell your soul, long term to get the ring, and that's all that matters. Yep. You can be great for 10 years, and if you don't ever win, what does it matter? So
right,
stuff to talk about, but yeah. So Glick, I appreciate it. I literally said, I was like, I don't care if I lose E.18, if I lose deflate these balls, everything else, I will trade all of those if it means Mac not winning the back to back, and it happened. So it's, you know, just appreciate you looking out for the rest of us. Now everybody hate Glick, nobody trade with him, nobody let him win. Mac is back on the good side. So
love it.
Really quick, I guess I could have put this in the Dynasty download, but just a couple of quick questions for you as we go into the official offseason, and I renewed the league today. Do you have one player on your team that surprised you the most in the Taco League? Obviously not like your top guys. No. That was like, oh, how great this person did, but anybody that overplayed or underperformed?
Nope.
No one.
No. I tanked the entire year. My key pieces are my key pieces. I have Bijan, I have Brandon Ayuk, I have AJ Brown, I've got Jonathan Taylor. The rest of my team is absolute hot garbage.
There was nobody that like the best to be good that bombed.
Not really. I mean, I had middling everywhere else. Kareem Hunt, Kyle Pitts, KJ Osborne.
Yeah,
I dropped everybody. Like, my team was absolutely terrible. The overperform, I guess, I will go with Cortland Sutton. But he scored a million touchdowns. It was all touchdowns. So I was just expecting regression after regression. So I don't think he was in my lineup ever.
Okay.
But my team is very middle of the pack. I've got 4 phenomenal pieces, and the rest of my team is absolutely terrible.
Yours was the wrong team for me to ask that question.
There's lots of other ones that I could see like that popped off, but
yeah. My one, I will say, I guess it was a split between my two main running backs. I will give the edge to Travis Etienne because I was big on him last year. I took him in our startup draft and paid decently for him, but he was coming off his rookie season being missed, and then this year it was kind of like the amount of people that were all telling me how Etienne was going to bomb and how Tank Bigsby was going to start cutting into workload, and I was like, it's not going to happen. I won 2 bets with people because I was like, Bigsby will not be a thing and will not cut into Etienne. I expected him to be more than he was, so even I was surprised, but Etienne finishing the year as the running back 3, I don't think anybody would have predicted, and that's what happened this year. So
he was my wild card. I said he's going to be a top like 6 back or something like that, I think is what it was, or I said he's going to be an RB2, and he finished as RB3 and RB6 on points per game. So I'm like, nailed it. I'm like, that this is his range of outcomes. That is what it is.
Him and Pollard basically flip-flop for me because I assumed Pollard was going to be a more safe running back 1, and Etienne would be that mid running back 2 as a flex guy, and they were totally opposites. I almost traded away Etienne instead of Najee Harris early in the year. Like, that was to that point where I'm like, I view them about the same. They're both 24, 25. They're both like low running back 1 to 1, high running back 2. So like that, values change quickly. On the other side of things,
quickly,
is there a player that you're most worried about their value changing in the offseason? So like not underperforming or just bad players, but somebody that like based on the rookie draft or free agent signings or trades or whatever that could like change drastically.
Not really. Again, mine are pretty solidified. I mean, like I said, Bijan, Brandon Ayuk, AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor. Like those are my big guys. They're
not going anywhere.
Contracts are rookies. Like they're not going anywhere, and the rest of mine are just kind of dart throws. So like I don't think Sutton's going anywhere now, and he's going to be, I guess, one of my extra flexes right now. Kareem Hunt is just old. Like if he comes back with Cleveland, so I mean, like I don't have a whole lot. Kyle Pitts, maybe. If I'm going to look at that, if I'm going to look at getting another tight end or something like that, so I don't have a whole lot. Like I said, I've got my 4 building blocks, and the rest of it is just kind of let's see where I can start scraping things together, which is very difficult to do when you play 2 flexes.
Speaking on the I love that rule change. That was great. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, you guys are idiots, by the way. I said that to everybody who voted for that. I'm like, you guys are giving the team with the most depth the ability to play one of those extra depth pieces. So you guys are all stupid.
Place, baby.
So idiots.
What was I going to say? Don't listen to the Fantasy Footballers their podcast today because they were like, watch the Falcons go out and draft Brock Bowers with their pick.
No. I would cry. I would cry, and then I would. I was like, I think my undershirt is a Falcon shirt. No, but it is. But like, I would absolutely cry.
That would be the
worst. Like, if there's anything worse that the Falcons franchise could do, it would be doing that.
I can't wait for them to do that and then not use him either. So
they're just like, we're gonna run 2 tight end sets. Now we're ready
with Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith.
The only thing that would work out with that would be they'd probably move on from Pitts and either cut him or trade him, and then he'd have a chance to have a resurgence. But
I would love every ounce of that.
For me, my answer to the player you're most worried about changing value, I've got like 4, I think, free agents on my team, so it could be interesting. The biggest one is Tony Pollard, because I don't know if there's a situation that he walks into as the guaranteed starter if he leaves Dallas, but also he didn't have a great year this year in Dallas. I know 2 years ago it was awesome, but I don't know how to feel about him. I don't know if I'm not going to move him because I'm not going to get anything for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll be excited if he stays or if he goes. So if he goes somewhere else, it's who's going to really pay a ton of money for him, and if he stays, are they going to give him more than a 1 or a 2 year contract, or are they going to franchise him for a second time? So obviously he's my 3rd running back, which is good. He's fine for like a flex guy, but I'm not feeling super happy about.
You're the worst.
I mean, I traded a first and some pieces away to get him last year, and I thought at the time it was a steal, and now I'm like, So we'll see. He's 26. The home team might not want him. That's why they franchised him. So, anyways,
he looked rough at times.
Moving on from that, going into the betting corner. Tyler, you got any big things for this week?
Week 18 should be fun. It's I like to call it incentive week. So I'll wrap up. I didn't do anything for week 17. I was too focused on the championship game that I was in. So I did win an actual ship in our auction league, and it was my biggest money league. So thoroughly enjoy that one, getting the championship in that one. But so week 16, I put myself out there. I had 10 bets, which is way too many. But it was crazy. To be fair, 4 of them were like yardage and receptions on because I said I was going to do the Eagles overs. So week 16 I had 6-4. So I went to another 1.8 units up. So I'd like AJ Brown over yardage over receptions, Devonta Smith over yardage over receptions. So that went well for the most part. The main ones I missed were Diggs continuing to be absolutely garbage. Again, this was week 16. Not that he was much better in week 17. So that was absolutely terrible. So I ended up going 6-4 plus 1.8 units. So I'm 46-28 on the season. So I'm up 21.39 units. So that's good for a profit. If you bet $10 on every single game, you'd be up $213. If you just blindly, if you bet $10 every time I gave you a pick, you'd be up $213, $214. Not bad for just randomly listening to somebody who at least puts a little bit of research into it. So it's been a good year, no question. But going into week 18 now, like I said, we like to call it incentive week. I will say caution. Obviously, this is public information to everybody. So books really like to juice these overs on incentives. So don't lose too much money. Don't go too crazy with these. Don't parlay them all together because it's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you're looking at any of them, here are the big ones that are at least obtainable. First one, Devin Singletary. He needs 74 yards rushing and or receiving to get a $125,000 bonus. Austin Eckler, a little more out there. He needs 110 yards to get a $100,000 bonus. I don't see that one happening. OBJ, he needs 5 catches. Not only, but he only needs 5 catches to get $250,000. Hop, he needs 39 yards to get $1 million. So I think they're going to get him that one. And then if he gets 7 receptions, he'll get an additional $250,000 on top of that. A couple other ones, tight ends. Dalton Schultz, 6 receptions for $250K. I really like that one for a game that is very important for Houston, obviously. If you want to go real crazy, he needs 107 yards for an additional $250K on top of that. Finally, one that's likely not going to happen, shouldn't happen. Laporta needs 216 yards to break the rookie tight end record. So a few of them I'm targeting. I'm going to go with who is it? It is...
So I know like the Kelseys and the Andrews didn't do
I can't remember.
The first couple of years. So Mike Ditka from 1961.
Ditka. Yep.
Oh wait,
Ditka.
Yeah. Most
yes, correct.
Yeah. 1,076. And
1,076.
60 years. 62 years.
That's so many yards. That's so crazy. So likely ones I'm targeting. I'm gonna go Singletary over his yardage prop. My guess is it's probably gonna fall somewhere in the rushing plus receiving. He's been playing really well, so my guess is it's going to fall in the low 80s range. I'd be fine taking over up to like 82.5. Seems like an arbitrary number, but I promise that one makes sense. OBJ, I'll take his over 4.5 receptions if we get there. Hop, 7 receptions. I don't know that I'll go that, but my guess is the line probably falls at like 5.5. If you're going to look for 7 receptions, I'd probably get like at least 1.5, if not 2 to 1. Dalton Schultz, 6 receptions for his $250K. My guess is it probably opens at about 4.5. But if it gets 5.5, meaning you need to get to the 6, I'd look for at least plus 140, 150, something like that. Laporta, I'm not going to bet that one, but just a handful there. Some fun ones. Don't go too crazy. I know people say, well, coaches and teams don't have incentives or don't have a cause to want to give these guys more money. But guess what? The quarterbacks are the ones on the field, and they know. So somebody like a Tyler Huntley and things like that is going to feed the ball plenty to OBJ because he's not only not Lamar, he's going to want somebody like OBJ in his back pocket. So
correct.
Especially those veterans, they tend to get these incentives a lot more often than the young guys.
Yeah. I still remember the clip when Gronk was mic'd up in the last week of the Buccaneers season where he was like, I only need one more catch to get blah, 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 like $500,000 or whatever it was. And Brady, like, in the huddle was like, all right, Gronk, let's get this out of the way. And, like, just immediately threw, like, a 0-yard screen just to catch it, fall out of bounds. He was like, I did it. Like, you're doing it just for that. Because, I mean, other than the people playing 100%. On the line, you can manufacture touchdowns. So.
Yes, exactly. Receptions is typically a whole lot easier to do than yards.
Yeah. All right. Quick before moving into the DFS side, just to mention too, Tyler and I had been doing the head-to-head punishment things since we took the last week off. We technically split. I won 2 weeks ago, and he won this past week, so that would keep us both at level 5. So we're going to just do all of the marbles. Whenever our next episode is, if it's in a couple weeks in the playoffs or if it's a month before the Super Bowl, we'll just do whoever wins Week 18 here since it's super random for the final crown. Because somehow I didn't expect us to do this when we started like 11 weeks ago, but we've basically
that's
split.
Pretty crazy.
So, I do have a game called something. I forget the name, but one that we played on my bachelor party that's all accents and everything. So I figured we can just start. If we run out of ideas like the bag on the head or like things like that, those are preferable because we both are bad at accents. But if we run out of those, that game has accents just ready to go as cards. So I'll just draw 3 of them, and you just pick which one you want to do out of those.
Fabulous.
That's what it's going to be. So finally on the board. Anyways, DFS for me. 9th last week, I had a bad week. I basically found a way to manufacture both CMC and Tyreek, the 2 fantasy MVPs, into my lineup, both 9,000 plus. CMC gets hurt. Christian McCaffrey was brutal, and Tyreek left for a little bit and then dropped a touchdown when he was wide open, and then did like 14 points, but he didn't do much. So very disappointing. And let me tell you, when you spend up a lot of those and they don't come through, the rest of my team was not good. I had Taylor Heineke. Everybody was bargain bin guys. Heineke had 18 points. He was a fire pick, so that's good. Zamir White, 15, also a fire pick. But then I had losses by Rashid Shaheed, who was all I could afford with 3 points. And the Raiders D I picked on purpose because they were the number 1 fantasy defense over like 4 or 5 weeks, and then I got 1. So not ideal. We're moving ahead to this week because I'm already not going to win. I doubt I'm going to take third either, but it is what it is. So again, everybody who's listening, I will recap the full standings in the group me, and I'll figure out who paid what because we had several people pay 5, 10, or 20, and then some people just didn't pay, so I have them X'd out in the Excel sheet, so I need to figure out what the exact total amount is and go back through Venmo. But dispersal will be whoever takes third place getting their money back, whatever benchmark they paid. Second will get double whatever they paid, and first will just get whatever's left. I don't know what that's going to look like. But,
I was going to say we're going to go through, and third place is going to get their $10, and second place is going to have paid $20, so they're going to get $40, and they'll be like, "All right, here you go, Tyler. In first place, you get $17." I'm like, what the?
That's the thing is, like, I think I had 30 people go in on it, and I sent the invites to, and then the number of them that just didn't answer back and didn't send money, or the people that did the initial 5 and then either never answered or opted out of more than 5, where I'm like, okay, I should have probably figured this out before. But rest assured, there's at least 100 total in there. I just need to figure out how much there is. So.
Yeah.
We'll get those ironed out tomorrow, and we'll know what everybody's in line to win. So,
thanks.
As far as budget options that I like this week, I'm picking the under 6,500 mark. Again, I think lines just came out today for DraftKings, so I didn't have a lot of this when I was putting it in. But I mentioned my swim upstream pick of the week, Tyrod Taylor, 5,300 versus Philly. Bad quarterback, or good quarterback matchup, bad against quarterbacks, and Tyrod runs the ball a bit, so I like him. Zach Charbonnet, only 5,000. This is contingent on Kenneth Walker missing, but he was out of practice again today. It seems like he's trending towards missing, and it's against Arizona, who is the most named to running backs. And then Elijah Mitchell, he's 5,300. I believe Jordan Mason,
Jordan Mason, yep.
In the 4,500 tier. Don't really know who's going to be the number one guy, but either way, versus the Rams, not a great matchup, but seems he's totally out. So I think that offense is still going to find ways to move the ball, even with Sam Darnold at the helm. Wide receivers, cheap, gross options. JSN, 4,800. He continues to just seem to hang around that 10 to 14 mark, so I think that's good enough. And then Brandon Cooks, 5,200 versus Washington, who's the worst against receivers. So I think Dak's going to try to make a statement for MVP. They're going to want to lock up the division title, and we can't all go to CD. So Cooks is a slide in, kind of mid to low pick. Tight end, I got Juwan Johnson as my favorite of the week, $3,500. He's got 3 straight double-digit performances. I had him in the lineup last week, and I pivoted to Gerald Everett because I had $200 more. So that was a mistake. Ooh. And then lastly, I'm rolling with them again. Defenses, the Raiders are only 2,800. I think that's moved up now. When I looked today, it was 33,000 or 3,100. But it's versus Denver, who's a good matchup for defenses against quarterbacks. The Raiders have been good the last 4 or 5 weeks, and then Jarrett Stidham, they're probably not doing much, and they're not playing for anything. So that's kind of my value guys of the week, so we will see. Really quick, I just realized, did we want to go over the predictions and stuff, or do we want to save that for another time? I know we've ran long, but
I was going to say, I was like, I've got it pulled up here, and we don't have to go too crazy in depth. So if you'd like to go in depth, we can do it at a different time. Otherwise, we can just kind of talk through.
Yeah, I'll hop in if there's anything to toot my horn, but I'll let you kind of just drive it quickly.
Perfect. Yeah. So before the season started, we went back and forth with a prediction show, and so I kept everything in a fun little spreadsheet. And since we're at the tail end of the season, I kind of pulled everything up and put essentially what these individuals we did wild cards, which were essentially, hey, we think this individual has a wide range of outcomes, right? Could finish right here, could finish way above this, way below this. Diamonds, somebody who we felt like it was going underdrafted and could do relatively well, maybe a little more unknown, or just kind of not getting enough respect that we saw in the offseason. And then the truly my guys, like these are individuals who are going to be on my teams. These are the individuals I'm planting my flag in. And then we'll come back next episode and do predictions that we did for divisions, since there's some that are done, but there's a couple, handful that still have week 18 to decide that. So we'll just go through the players for now and see how that finishes. So Jack, we'll start with you, and then I'll run through my own. So Jack, we did a QB, a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end essentially for our wild cards. So we'll start with our wild cards. And so you had Dak, Alexander Mattinson, Calvin Ridley, and then for tight end you had essentially kind of a second tier tight end, a non-Kelsey and Mark Andrews. So I said like Hawk, Kittle, and Dallas Goedert. So Dak, what you said was he's probably not worth ADP. The slower offense is safe, but his upside is completely gone. So he was pretty. I thought these might be fun actually.
Nobody saw this coming, so he's definitely
nobody did.
But holy hell.
I know. So we'll have some fun with these ones. I'll keep them relatively quick. But some of the comments, I was like, these are awesome. So pre-draft, he's QB10.
Sounds good, but
I know. So pre-draft QB10, he finishes QB4. Mattinson, we're more so on track. You said he was going to be a flex, not an RB2. He's got no breakaway speed, no big playability. Pre-draft RB22, finished as RB36.
I was so
Ridley,
proud of that one.
Yeah, Ridley, we said kind of a best case mid wide receiver 2, getting drafted at a ceiling, likely a waste of a 4th round pick. Pre-draft wide receiver 18, finished as wide receiver 24. So pretty right on there. Tight end, Hawk, Kittle, Goddard. Opportunity cost really net there. Get a solid wide receiver running back instead. Pre-draft, they were tight ends 3, 4, and 5. They finished as tight ends 3, 4, and 14, but Goddard got hurt. So pretty on track.
Stand by maybe Hawk, but Kittle wasn't worth, even though he finished as 4. Like, he wasn't worth the opportunity. So.
Which, if you go back and listen, that was my exact argument. I said he's going to get you 2, 4, 27, 29, 3, 1, 28, and he's going to finish as tight end 5. And he finished as literally tight end 4 or 5. It's just crazy.
I will take 2.5 to 3 of those 4 feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad. So diamonds in the rough. You went with QB, you went Geno, Monty for your running back, Van Jefferson for your wide receiver, and then Kincaid for your tight end. So Geno, you said it should be about 4 or 5 guys drafted before him that he should go ahead of, and he's got playmakers around him. Pre-draft QB 15 finishes QB 19. Nothing crazy there. Monty, the top scoring offense, he'll get the goal line. Upside RB2 in the 7th. Pre-draft RB 29 finished RB 14. Nailed that one. Van Jefferson should be wide receiver 2 on the Rams. Puka came out of absolute nowhere.
Yeah.
Could get flex-worthy numbers, and he was wide receiver 69 pre-draft, so worth a dart throw.
The spot
Obviously
was there.
The spot was there, and Puka took it. And then Kincaid just went with the wrong rookie tight end, so he's a good dart throw. Tight end 13 finishes 15.
I will say that was a lot of it weighted down by the first half of the year, and then he exploded like week 7 on up until the last 2 weeks. So I feel good about, like, if you went with him as the dart throw, that he did what I was thinking he would do. It just wasn't consistent before and after. So that's
perfect. Running things out, going with my guys. QB, you had Tua, running back Miles Sanders, wide receiver Hollywood, and tight end Njoku. Tua, he said top 5 to send, massive value, currently at QB 12, which was his pre-draft. He got great weapons and a great TD rate, which was on pace with Mahomes preseason. QB 12 currently at was pre-draft QB 10, and he's QB 18 on points per game. So pretty right on target. He
was doing phenomenal.
He was, and then he just really fell off. As I knock over my mic, but caught it on the way down. Miles Sanders said he's a back end RB1, which is funny because I know mine was the exact opposite because I've just never been a truther. He's going to excel in the receiving game. He's really got no competition. Pre-draft RB20, finishes RB53, RB61 on a points per game basis. So he was
half the year either. He was injured all the time. That was just brutal. So.
Which is why I put this in here for the games he played. And I went through and took out all the injuries and everything like that. He was RB61 in points per game in games he did play, so even worse than his finish. So he was just bad. So no, I'm with you. There's a lot of these. I did the same. Hollywood, I thought it was going to be similar. I said wide receiver 34 pre-draft, going to get 100-plus targets, better with Kyler. Should be a steal with where he's at. Pre-draft wide receiver 34, finished wide receiver 51, wide receiver 53 on a points per game basis. So again, he was just bad. There's nothing you could do.
Genuinely shocked on all of my predictions that I
100%. He would have been my guy if you didn't go first. So there's no question there. Njoku was absolutely awesome. Said he's going to get the targets, receptions. Better with Watson if he's improved, but it doesn't matter. He was good. He's a good punt target for a tight end if you didn't go with the top guy. Pre-draft, tight end 10, finishes tight end 5, tight end 6 in points per game basis. So, like you said, 50%. Yeah, absolutely helps. So, went 50% on those, and hey, nothing wrong with that when we're going with my guys.
It feels like 3 out of 4 wild cards, 1 out of 4 diamonds, and 2 out of 4 my guys. So that's not bad for dart throw, or like gamble shots, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Hopefully I didn't take too long with those. I was like 6 minutes or something like that. So my wild cards, I went I went Deshaun Watson, running back E.18, wide receiver Debo, and then tight end Kyle Pitts. So I said Watson was, with his skill set, he was either going to finish in the top 5 or completely outside the top 12. Pre-draft, he was QB9, and he finished QB 35. So everything went wrong for him. And for games he did play, he was QB 26 on points per game. So he finished exactly like we said. He didn't finish anywhere in the middle. He was either going to kill it or be absolutely terrible, and he was terrible. ETN, I said if he continues with his efficiency, keeps the goal line work, he's going to be a top 6 back, or he's going to be an RB2. And turns out he kept his efficiency and the goal line work. Pre-draft RB10, finishes RB3, RB6 in points per game. Debo, I said relatively he can have inconsistent play. He has boom or bust weeks, and I said he was too expensive, so I faded him, and certainly wrong in that. Pre-draft wide receiver 15, finished as wide receiver 9 and wide receiver 7 in points per game. So he played really, he put up points when he did play. Pitts, I said he is going to be top 3 or he's going to be unusable, and he was unusable. Pre-draft, he was tight end 7, and right now, as crazy as it is, tight end 13 only, and tight end 17 in points per game. So going into my diamonds in the rough, I said Kyler is going to have late season production as a bench stash, so he's going to do well at the end of the year and finish you in good points per game. He has done exactly that. Pre-draft QB 24. Right now he's at QB 26, so right on pace with where you drafted him, and he's QB 10 in points per game with what he's played. So
that's crazy.
He's been absolutely great. My great plant flag for the year is my diamond and my guy, Mr. James Cook. I said he's got a high RB2, low RB1 path with injuries. Pre-draft RB27. Right now he's RB10. So he did better than I really even expected. I really saw more so of an RB2 path, but RB17 in points per game. So he nailed that back end RB1, high RB2. So he's done absolutely amazing, and a lot of league winners, except for in the semifinals, he kind of shit the bed for everybody. So hopefully somebody else helped you there. Wide receiver Dotson, I said he was undervalued, being drafted too late because I thought he was going to be a good bench piece. Wide receiver 40, finishes wide receiver 55, wide receiver 70 in points per game. He was absolutely terrible. Greg Dulcich was my diamond tight end. Obviously got hurt in week 1, so not much you can do there. Tight end 14, obviously tight end 95. My guys for the year, Anthony Richardson. Good when he played, just got hurt. Pre-draft QB 16, finished technically as QB 36. So I took out all his injury games, and so he finished as QB 14 in points per game that he's at so far. So finished essentially where he was being drafted. Running back James Cook again, 27, and finishes RB10. My wide receiver is Zay Jones. I said wide receiver 60. I said he's going to get weekly flex production, minimal investment. Pre-draft wide receiver 60, and he's wide receiver 63 on points per game. So took the dart throw and has got you some usable weeks, but mostly just been hurt too much all year. And then lastly, Darren Waller, who again was also hurt. So apparently I'm just a curse and hurting people. I said he's going to lead Giants in receptions. Hawk will fall below him. That was not correct even a little bit. Waller in the top 3 to 4. Pre-draft tight end 5, finished tight end 24, tight end 14 in points per game. So injuries played a lot into that. So the one I nailed, I absolutely nailed, and the other 3 were hurt. So I can only do so much. But it was fun and excited to do it again next year.
Speaking of, as a Waller owner in like 2 leagues, and I was going to make it my guy before you put him in first. He, before the injury even, was doing so bad. So he was like
terrible.
It's not even like what could have been. It's like, nope, we were all wrong. So
which is why I put all these points per games in here, because everyone's like, that's the argument for everybody. They're like, oh, he got hurt. I'm like, all right, well, let's look at what he would compare to everybody else if he did play. And so I took out all the injury games for all these people, and I'm like, nope, he was still bad. Or, yep, you're right, he was a little bit better or a little bit worse. And it turns out these guys that we picked, there were injuries, we're like, it's injury. Nope, we were just wrong.
Yeah. I feel like looking at it, like, without going into analytics, obviously your my guys was mostly injury based. I think I got a little bit on the edge on my guys, and we pretty much split on the diamonds, but then you nailed like most of your wild cards, which I'm now realizing I did those differently.
I know when you initially said them, and I was like, I think we missed the point of these are supposed to be wide range of outcomes.
Mine was like mostly guys I'm out on, and yours was like they're either great or they're bad. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess you're right, but like I didn't even think to do 2. Like, I missed that memo. So
Oh, I totally forgot. Because I put them in a separate tab, and I'm an idiot. I forgot about our bold predictions.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you want to do those with the division wrap up on the next episode, or do you want to run through all of those?
Totally fine. I mean, we're like an hour right now, so we got about like 20 minutes for a draft. We're not doing too bad. Just depends on how you're feeling.
Yeah, let's do the wrap up because I think there's a couple I'm already looking at that are contingent on like this week even. So
okay,
we can do those with the division. That way we can be like, here's how the division finished. Here's what we did, and then bold prediction. So a little bit of our bold predictions now, and then a little bit later.
I like it.
All right, so sticking with us, semi-tooting our own horns. I feel like pretty good though. In our first real
it's not bad.
Guys and stuff year, we'll try to come up with like other categories besides the diamonds and the wild cards, maybe for some like additional picks next year. But I feel like the whole point is ones that like we tried to pick ones that weren't just consensus. It wasn't what every expert was talking about. It was like more of our people. So I feel good that we went like mostly 50%. Like the one I'm the most proud on is just dunking on Alexander Madison because so many people were in on him, and I was like, it's not gonna work. But there were plenty of guys I was just off on too. Dak almost beating the MVP this year, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, into the draft now. Finally, so. Real quick recap. I won't run through every single individual vote, but needless to say, the Xmas movie Happy Hour was a big hit. We had people that liked it a lot. It was a creative, different one. So shout out to Connor, who was our guest host. Officially, drumroll, Connor is the first guest drafter to win a draft. So he edged it out by me and you by 1 and 2 votes. So 1 and 3 votes. So it was very, very close, but Connor did win. We both basically said after the draft, as soon as he went off air, we were like, we got our teeth kicked in because his draft was way better.
We were like, that was horrible. He prepped way more than us, and we were just out of our depth in this one.
And he got the first pick, and it was just like it went downhill. So I could put it on my draft strategy. I tilted, and that's not what you want to do. But now, because of that, Tyler and I are very vain, and we said no more guest drafters. So that's not what happened. I did it last minute, but we want to go back to just us. So I now have a running total for guests as the counter. So the season 2 total is 7 for me, 5 for Tyler, and guests 1. So that way, if anybody else joins in, they can just pool together to try to take us down, basically.
There you go.
If I had it my way, we'd have a guest every week, but people are busy.
I agree.
We record on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so that is what it is. This week, we are doing best sports video games, and we're taking out the main ones. So I think Tyler and I kind of off-air agreed what that means, but like we're not drafting the league-sponsored ones that just reprint the same thing every year. So I think the specific ones that are out, correct me if I'm, missing one. Mm-hmm. We are removing any Madden, NBA 2K, MLB The Show, Chell games, FIFA games, and NCAA. Oh, and then Tiger Woods, PGA
and Tiger.
Tour, blah, blah. So any of those are out. Beyond that, we're looking for whether it's a real players in the games or if it's a cartoon version, but just like it has to be a sports game-based thing. And I just thought of one more in my head that I completely forgot to put on my list. Great pick later. So technically, because last week we did the randomized, like we do whenever there's a guest drafter. 2 weeks ago, Tyler had the first pick when it was best slogans, which that didn't go well for me either. But we're bouncing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did. Yeah.
It's a 2-game losing streak for me. The last one I had was best smells.
Well, let's keep it going.
So I am starting with the 101. There's a lot of ways to go here. There's a couple of them that like I have to basically go to the judges and make sure that they're allowed to be taken, but I'm going to save those for controversy later. I'm just going to go with safety right off the bat.
Yep.
I got 2 here, and I don't know how to feel. So let me ask you: are we just to make sure if you even thought of them on your list? Or I was already going into the questions. Did you go like racing games on your list too? Is that sports?
I didn't put any in there, but I didn't really play them, so I didn't put any on. You can put them on, absolutely. I left them off because I didn't play them.
Okay.
You can have them. Go for it. I have you want to throw Forza on there or whatever?
You're not going to take one, so that's why
I will. I am telling you right now, I will take no racing game. Right, I didn't play them.
I am going to go with, I guess, the classic.
The obvious.
Is it? Because it's probably going to be different. I don't know.
Can't wait.
I'm going to go with the classic that I grew up with playing a ton of. And it was primarily on the computer. It was not on a console.
Right.
But I am going to go with the king of the backyard sports, which is backyard baseball.
Yeah, I'm like, what do we do? What are we waiting? Like, why are we taking an hour to pick this?
There's an obvious. I didn't know. Yeah, I think
it's the one that ends all votes.
Yeah, it's the one that I played that was like the 01 version that had you could do the OP spot of like Derek Jeter, Kenny Lofton, Cal Ripken Jr., like all of these OP guys, and then the greatest, arguably, in my opinion, fictional character of all time, fictional like sports athlete is Pablo Sanchez, and just wins the secret weapon.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm like, he's got him. Like, what are we doing here?
Every time I have the first pick, and you're like, I know what you're taking. I'm like, what if it's the wrong pick now? So, anyways, that's my pick.
For me, one of the best sports franchises is something that I'm sure a lot of people don't even really consider a sport. But it is absolutely a game that I spent so ridiculous amount of time on, and is, I think, one of the top selling games of near every iteration of it all the way through. And so I got to take Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah, I figured
that was classic. It was spent so much time playing that game, and you could do so many things and finding new locations and things like that. It was absolutely incredible. So I got to take Tony Hawk Pro Skater with my first pick for sure.
Not number 2, huh? I thought Pro Skater 2 was the best.
Doesn't matter. I get the whole franchise.
I was just curious. I was just
asking. Which one? Yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was certainly the best game, but since I get the whole franchise, it made it a whole lot easier.
Do I get every backyard sports? I just get backyard baseball, right? Like if one of us wants backyard football or basketball or soccer, you can take it.
I guess I never even played it. I never even played backyard
soccer
football.
Was good. Basketball sucked.
Basketball, yeah. Anyway, for the next one, I think one of the other ones that I played so often, and I got it. There's 2 of them that I played so much that I think it's gonna hurt me if I pick the wrong one, because obviously that means you get both of the other ones potentially, which is really gonna hurt me.
I have 2 top ones and they're very different.
Yes, yeah, agreed. So I think I'm gonna go with the NFL version, and I'm gonna take one that I played so much on N64 and then into GameCube and all that. So I got to take NFL Blitz.
NFL Blitz, okay.
Yeah, I know. There's so many. There's so many, and I don't even know that that's the right answer. But those are the 2 games of my whole list that I played probably the most.
I specifically had on NFL Blitz the League. If you played that one, because that one was like the one where it was like shooting up steroids on the sideline and breaking bones,
broken fingers, and
you get tackled and you're like, look at that femur.
You're like, yeah, that game was crazy.
Yeah, I fully agree with the whole franchise part. I was just putting in my specific ones, but yes, NFL Blitz was a lot of fun. Oh, okay.
There's so many.
I know. Oh, by the way, can we go 6? Because I have so many else. I had 12 already because there was supposed to be a guest drafter. But if you don't have that many, then we didn't really discuss it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that I have that many.
If you have 12, we should go 6.
I don't have 12.
Fine.
I don't have 12. I have like 8.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I'll just have a lot of mentions after.
Yeah, that works.
I know my number 2 immediately. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I know your number 2 as well.
NFL Street, specifically NFL Street 2, is one of my favorite games of all time.
As you can see, those were the 2 I was between.
Yeah. When you were like, when you said N64, I was like, NFL Street 2 I played on GameCube, so then I was like, maybe
it's like GameCube, yeah.
I played NFL Street 2 so much more. It was Exhibit as the main
so good.
Like narrator. And playing the Own the City mode, I have gone back to that in the last like 3 years and played Own the City, where you do these mini games and like drafted players.
That's funny.
I used to play with my buddy Drew, who you know. We used to play the shit out of that game like every summer. And
NFL Street was
we'd switch off
the bomb.
So I love that game. All the little like terrible taunts because they had to keep it PG, so it was like, oh, you know what time it is? I'll bring it. I'm like, no, nobody talks like that. But
yeah,
it was great getting the game breaker modes and the power ups and everything.
Yes,
like that. It was just that's back when you had like OP Randy Moss and Dante Hall and just. Michael Vick was the only good quarterback that everybody wanted, and so that's easy for me. Specifically, 2 was the best, but I love 1 also. And then beyond that, I'm starting to divide between like what my favorite games are versus like what I know were big games too. I don't want to go back into the Street world, though I played a lot of NBA Street also.
Yeah.
I guess I will go with a conventional pick. I'm going to kind of bob instead of weave here. But as far as sports games, we'll see if this is, I think it's still fine. But I'm going to go with Wii Sports for the variety, because there were several.
I never even owned a Wii.
If you haven't done Wii bowling, and the whole point of Wii is to be active and moving, but all you do is just lay on the couch and do that. And it was a fun family game when the whole thing came out. It was kind of the thing that the Wii was pitched on. So Wii Sports with that. It had tennis. It had tank mode, a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of different variety. But it's another cult classic.
Yeah, no question. Certainly a great one. For me, I've got a few more. Let's see here. I'm still going back and forth if I want to do 6 now, because I'm like, I've got enough that I've like come up with here as I've been thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start with one that again, I'm sure a lot of people won't think is a sport, but is one of the greatest sports games that I thoroughly enjoyed. And again, all the iterations of it were so fun, and the story mode with it and locking characters. So give me some Mario Golf.
Yeah, I have that on my list too.
That is an absolutely amazing game. If you've never played Mario Golf, you legitimately haven't lived.
Who was your
so much.
Who was your go-to?
I mean, I think I've said before, I mained Mario a lot. Yoshi I did a lot as well. So it's like Yoshi was probably my main. And then as far as my next one, you mentioned it earlier, but I think one of the other games that I played a lot. I played so much NBA Street, but I don't know if I played it as much as some of the old school baseball games. And so I'm trying to decide which one to go with. And I was like, I'll probably bob on this one, because I was like, I don't know how much you really played baseball games growing up beyond like backyard baseball.
No, I played a ton of this one. I left off the list because I figured it was too like MLB, but I played a ton of MVP baseball in 2005.
Right. Yeah, which is exactly where I'm going, because I thought about like RBI baseball, and there's Ken Griffey Jr. baseball and things like that too. But MVP baseball and like Manny Ramirez on the cover was just the absolutely the shit. So give me some MVP baseball.
That was the one post the Red Sox run where the entire that soundtrack is so good.
So good. So give me some MVP baseball.
Yeah, I like that. I left it off my list specifically because I didn't know if it was too towing the line for me, because it was like a yearly thing. So I was like, it's not the show, maybe. So it's not. But yeah, that was the one I played growing up. All right. Well, question now: am I making it one pick or 2 picks?
Just one.
Oh, okay, so we're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changed what direction I went with here. So
sure.
There's 2 to 3. There's 2 badly that I want on my list, so I need to decide between these 2. Okay, I'm gonna shot fire at you here, but I'm gonna take if you've played it, I don't know if it's more popular, but if you played it, in my opinion, I think it's the superior, more fun Mario sports game. And I'm going to take Super
tennis.
Mario Strikers.
I've never played the soccer one.
Oh, it's so
never
good.
Played it.
I'm taking that with my last one. It's a lot of fun, and it's actually tough, like when you're playing against computers and stuff. So Super Mario Strikers was one of our big ones we did in college. There was like 8 of us, and we would just go, because every game was like 4 minutes long. Like it wasn't real soccer.
Oh, sure.
Power-ups and stuff, and like you have your main captain, and you're using like the Koopas or the little toads and stuff as your side guys and everything, and you we would do like round robins where it was just like drinking inside things and playing game after game after game of that. So that was one of my personal favorites, maybe not the vote getter, but I love that game. So
very nice.
So that's that. Fine, since Tyler's being mean and not letting us draft more, which ones did you have on your list? And I'll let you know.
The obvious one that we both didn't do is NBA Jam. So I was like, I played it, but I just not as often as some of the other ones. So it's just because it's a little bit of an older game. But being on fire and things like that was absolutely baller. And then NBA Street. So clearly we're not big basketball guys, but NBA Street was absolutely great when you get to create your own character and things like that and do the challenges was an absolute blast. And then really a bunch of baseball ones: RBI baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. baseball, and one of the best original football games of all time was ESPN 2K5 football. So that one was an absolute blast. And then if you're ever into like snowboarding, one of the fun just kind of
SSX.
is SSX tricky. Yep. So that was the last on my list.
Yeah, I had that one too. I also
really fun game.
If you ever played this one, but beyond NBA Jam, NBA Ballers. Is that one you've ever?
Okay. I definitely played NBA Ballers.
That one had the Rags to Riches story mode. That was really
was
cool.
So much fun.
You won every single like legend going up through it all, and it was like bringing down the house, breaking the backboard, and stuff like that. So
the amount of time I put into that game is ridiculous.
Yeah,
totally forgot about it. Honestly,
the PS2. That was like one of my old games that I think I still have. Not that I break out the PS2 ever, but like it's a game I've kept.
I forgot about that one. That one's not on my list.
That I also left off because it was kind of on the same vein with MVP baseball, where it wasn't one we excluded, but it also was like they make these every year. I was a big wrestling fan growing up, and the SmackDown versus Raw WWE games, specifically Here Comes the Pain, which was like the old school PS2, had like Brock Lesnar on the cover. It's like one of the like most like collectible PS2 games there is, and I still have my old copy of it. That is scratched to shit, but it works. It was the one where you could do like a full 365-day story mode. You could do like backstage fightings where you were like throwing people off in the parking lot, and like it was
nice. I've never played a wrestling game.
Yeah, it was very, very bad graphics, but like the newer ones, I'm sure, are much better. I don't play those anymore, but it was just like so good for its time, and it's got story. I mean, obviously WWE is scripted, but like the game was just storylines the entire way, so
that's awesome.
Fun. I also had a real old school Mike Tyson's Punch-Out game. Like the boxer game, all that stuff. And the one I almost took instead of Mario Strikers, but the Harry Potter Quidditch game is a lot of fun too. So
I also never played that one.
Sports, but I thought of that when you said it was like best fictional worlds and stuff like that. I was like, yeah. So those are the rest left off of my list, but
very nice.
Pretty well balanced. I got a baseball, I got a football, I got a soccer, and then a variety. You got football.
I'm like baseball. I got skating, and then I've got football. I've got golf, and then I have I wrapped it up with what was my last one?
Baseball, football.
Yeah, baseball. Yeah, baseball, and then MVP baseball.
No basketballs between us, so there's that.
No, I know. I was like, I played a lot of NBA ballers. Not gonna lie, but definitely forgot it off my list. And NBA Street was fun too, but I just didn't play very often. Not as often as the rest of these.
Right. All right, well, I'll post those. Everybody let us know. I'm sure Connor's just going to yell at us for what we missed once again, but I think we did pretty good. So that's,
I don't think
anybody would. I think it's very clear that, like, of our first two picks each, those are some of the ones that should be at the top. So that's, I'll fight anybody who says my Backyard Baseball and NFL Street were not correct early picks.
Right.
For next week's, Tyler, you had two, and I'm trying to find them. What were our two we were going to be between? Best fictional gadgets and best fictional worlds?
Yeah. Yep. Essentially. So yeah, best fictional gadgets. So maybe like a superhero uses or something like that, or best fictional worlds that you'd like to live in.
That's the key thing. Not just fictional worlds where it's like, wow, this would be so cool. Like Game of Thrones.
You have to live in it. You have to be there.
So like, what do you want to live in? So do you have a preference on which one of these two we want to go with? Because the other one we're going to have to do soon.
Yeah, no, you can go for it. I picked this round, so you can take whichever one of these.
Best fictional gadgets.
Cool.
Okay,
good deal.
That's going to be the one. I'm just going to lock it in now because I want them both so badly. So, yeah, I don't really know what that means, but we'll iron out the details.
I don't either.
Whenever our next episode is, so haven't really decided that either. We might do one mid-playoffs to just check in on how people are doing and talk about our predictions. We might just wait till the Super Bowl, and we won't have a lot else to talk about anyway, so we can just recap it then, even though you won't remember a month earlier. So, beyond that, any thoughts, anything to wrap up, Tyler?
No, I mean, really, I'm sure a lot of individuals will tune out now from football and general fantasy podcasting, which is totally fair. So for everybody who listened the whole season or found us somewhere midway through the season, I really do appreciate it. I look back to start the season, I think we're at like 78 subscribers or like 80 subscribers, something crazy. And so to be at 125, 126 subscribers now is awesome. So really appreciate all the support. Hope it continues to come into next year. Got some fun things planned for next year. Got a couple of giveaways in my back pocket that I've been thinking through. So we're going to do a lot of fun stuff. We'll continue to have a lot of preparation and whatnot. We've got a lot of things that we set up this year that we didn't have last year. So I've got a lot more editing capabilities and whatnot as well. So we'll do a whole lot better with the short form content, which I know a lot of people like. We're going to do a few off-season videos of like, we'll do another initials game and things like that just to keep everybody engaged. So again, just want to thank everybody for listening. For those that do, it's been fun. We appreciate all the questions, appreciate all the listens and whatnot, all the guests, drafters and things like that as well. Really appreciate it. But that's all I got, Jackaroo, unless you got anything final. Till next time for me. Peace out, Pod Squad.
Yeah, if you guys have any cool stuff that you want to ask us as far as playoff things, we can shout out short videos and give our picks and stuff like that. But otherwise, once we get past Super Bowl, it'll be mostly monthly. So give us something if you want to talk about Dynasty. Otherwise, we'll probably have a lot shorter episodes because there won't be as much to cover. So it'll be more Dynasty focused and some fun games here and there. But appreciate whoever sticks with us throughout that time. So thank you all. Congrats to everybody who won. I hate everybody who beat me and stopped me from winning. I think that's all I got. Oh, also, Tyler, did you bet the over or did you bet the under?
I bet the under, as you Mr. Chug-a-lugged as I talked about bets.
I only sipped on this one. These three were already gone.
Oh, sure. I see how it is.
So if you would have bet even money line on one above, we would have been all set. So Jack's going to go pass out because that's too much for me now. I don't drink these days. All right, good night.
An hour and 18 minutes for anybody who's curious. Jack's over here chug-a-lugging.
Good sign.
All right, Pod Squad. We're going to go let Jack pass out now. Peace out.
Peace out. Bud.
Thank you for listening to the Victorious POD podcast. Follow us on YouTube at the Victorious POD.